You know the feeling of when you want to do something so badly, but there's just this resistance? That's the only word I can think that describes it, is resistance. Where something in your body or your mind is telling you, no, I can't, I don't want to. Whether that be something small like folding the laundry or something big like starting a project. Resistance is an emotion that I've been dealing a lot with lately, and I've come to realize something about it, and I want to share it with you today on this episode of Strawberry of the Day. So, resistance is a very scary feeling because it's very unknown. I think there's a lack of clarity around what you're actually feeling when you feel resistance toward doing something. And I think getting to the root of that isn't always the easiest thing. When you try to intellectualize it, when you try to think, well, maybe it's because I feel like I don't have enough time, or I feel like I don't have a good enough idea, or if you try to kind of logic your way through the resistant feeling. I have found recently that asking myself, what is the feeling I'm trying to avoid, is a much more effective way to battle resistance and get things done and actually get around to doing things than trying to intellectualize it and figure out why I'm resisting it. So, hopefully, that makes some semblance of sense and we can talk about leaning into our feelings. Leaning into our feelings in our bodies, and what is it exactly that is precluding us from getting the things done that we want to, need to, should get done. Not that I love to should all over myself, but sometimes there are things that you should do, and those are the things that have the biggest, I just don't want to for some reason. So, the next time you feel resistance towards something, I want you to take a second and identify where it is in your body. Like right now, I can feel tightness in my shoulders and my chest. And I feel like that's my body's way of resisting expressing myself. But you can feel it in a lot of different ways. I think resisting, my buddy. Oh. Resisting something because of fear is a whole lot different than resisting something because of uncertainty. So, for instance, recently, I've actually been resisting doing this type of work because of the fear of success more than the fear of failure, which I know is, I don't know, it's not like, oh, I'm afraid of being successful. No, I'm afraid of the responsibility that would come with if I were to be successful. And the resistance is coming up when I realize that this could lead to that success. So the feeling I'm trying to avoid when I'm avoiding the task is the feeling of inadequacy and the feeling of incompetence in my work. My YouTube videos. But when there's a task that you have to tackle that's more of a physical task, a work task, like for instance today I was cleaning out a closet that I have been avoiding for a long time. The resistance that I was feeling wasn't that I didn't want to do the work of cleaning the closet, because that's not that hard. It was facing the emotion that I had let the closet get that bad. And if you've been catching up, if you've been up to date with your strawberries of the day, which you should be because you should be subscribed, you know that I've been going through it lately, and kind of seeing my closet being in that state made it real and made the consequences of my not feeling great era, if you will, it made those consequences very glaringly obvious. And I didn't want to have to face the fact that I have been sad and I have been struggling and I have not prioritized keeping up with my home the way that I usually have a standard of. So that's what was coming up when I didn't want to clean the closet. It wasn't just like, oh, I'd rather do something else. So, yeah, next time you're feeling that, take a second to address what the root cause of the resistance is. And honestly, when I realized I was avoiding the feeling of guilt and shame that came up with having a closet that had been piled over with clothes and boxes and random stuff, I was able to sit with that shame and that guilt and say, you know what? Let's have a little compassion for ourselves. Let's realize that things like this will happen. There will be times where not all the loops in my mind are closed, not all the tasks are ticked off the to-do, not everything is done, and things have gotten to a point where they need to be done. And I can't let that stop me from starting to get them done. So the emotion of avoiding discomfort with my past behavior, and quite honestly, it was just shame that I had let it get that bad, was refreshing to see that was the thing that was holding me back. It wasn't that I'm incapable of cleaning a closet or that it was too far gone. It was just that I didn't want to face the shame that I had allowed myself to let it get to that point. So, a resistance reframe, as we're all about the reframes here, is, are you resisting the task or are you resisting the feelings that are associated with the task? Because Lord knows it's the second one most of the time. Like, even sitting down to film this isn't hard. Turning on my camera and talking isn't hard. But talking about my inadequacies as a person who's been struggling with coming out of a bipolar episode is something that I have a bodily reaction to, that I'm like, I don't want to admit that. But I think admitting that makes me human. It makes me more honest, and that's what I'm trying to be here. But it makes sense that resistance comes up in your body the way it does, because your body is always just trying to protect you, and your nervous system is always trying to protect you. But sometimes you have to do a little override and say, hey body, this isn't a threat. This task isn't a threat. The emotion that comes up with this task is manageable if we just take a second to figure out where it's coming from beyond the initial trigger of the task itself. So, take from that what you will. Sit with that feeling in your body the next time you get that don't want to do it feeling, and see what you can overcome. Thanks for listening.